Do this live. I've been researching for the last 48 hours to get to the bottom of this Russian rebellion by the leader of the Merc army, Wagner. And it's an important live to do because as I watch reporting, especially in Canada, especially UK BBC News, it's inaccurate. You get more accuracy out of the United States and reporting, which is extremely quiet. And there's a reason for that. But you watch throughout the Commonwealth, Australian news, New Zealand news, Canada news, and especially UK news, again, BBC, an entirely massive publication, massive campaign of inaccuracy, collected experts, not one of which, folks, not one of which globally that these publications are using have any insight into Russia since 2003. It's 2023. More than that, we have to get into Merc armies. What they are, who's got them, what are the international laws, especially in human rights, and why do nations employ Merc armies? Who are the largest Merc armies in the world and which nations have them? I think for long-term followers, you're going to realize the P5, UNSC, United Nations Security Council, permanent 5 members, have the largest Merc armies in the entire world. And beyond Russia, we're going to get into the Wagner Group. We're even going to get into the Blackwater Group, USA, Wagner Group, Russia, and we're going to get into G4S, UK, based out of London, the largest Merc army in the entire world, bar nobody else. Russia, USA combined don't even come close to the Commonwealth's Merc army. Merc armies are old world. They're pre-World War I, into World War I, and finally in World War II. And the world said in never again, with the implementation of Geneva, that there would be rules, new rules of war, new human rights that limit Merc armies. Of course, the P5 doesn't have to follow. They can impose on all the countries of the world, but they themselves do not have to follow. And one of the remaining British Empire powers is Merc armies. And this video is going to become explosive. Should you choose to share it, you should share it. It's important knowledge. G4S, this largest Merc army. Russia built a massive Merc army in conjunction with the war effort in Ukraine. Before the Wagner Group, before Ukraine, Blackwater USA, membership not quite known, as it's very secretive, but it's estimated at minimum with training and facilities in the United States of America, 30,000 strong. This is private military group. Guns for hire in all kinds of foreign missions. Why do countries use mercenaries? Because international laws don't apply the same way to the nation who utilizes them. They escape international justice. They escape human rights laws imposed on all nations of the world post-World War II. And that's why nations like to use them. When you want to get your hands dirty and you don't want the political fallout, it's best to use a Merc army. Russia's no different. USA's no different. They've been utilizing Merc armies for a very long time. They're very good at implementing them all over the world in multiple conflicts at one time. Those two countries are the best at it. I want to go into first, what's happened with the Wagner Group, the supposed rebellion in Russia that didn't last less than a few hours. I want to go into the misreporting of UK, Canada, New Zealand, Australia. USA does not follow suit. You won't find anywhere near the same publications. Even Blinken doesn't go into anywhere near what UK claims, absolutely what Canada claims in its propaganda media. But we can go on throughout the whole Commonwealth. And this is really going to get disturbing because China's in here too. And it's going to open up eyes, this video, to a lot of what's happened in Canada, what we're all complaining about. And it really, really answers a lot of questions. It's an 18 plus video because this isn't very good for Justin Trudeau, Pierre Poilievre, or Jagmeet Singh. And this is the private military complex that Canada's heavily vested in, heavily utilized in, as well as most of the Commonwealth. And you'll find three key nations, Canada being number one, Australia, New Zealand, along with the United Kingdom in relation to G4S, the massive Merc Army, globally 6 continents large, and what they do to get around human rights violations in relation to, if you guessed it, subjects and savages, keeping them in line, keep extracting resources, forcing things upon peoples all over the world. They've been doing this for a very long time, and why it never hits the media is because it's private Merc Army. And again, I'm going to say it, G4S is 5 times the size globally of USA and Russia combined, Wagner and Blackwater combined. But let's go back now here. So a lot of propaganda, you heard that Vladimir Putin ran away from Moscow. He fled. He was terrified. Oh, Russia's crumbling. I want to get some things that are absolute, at least were absolute as of 2020 in my research with Russia and in my communications with real Russian experts. And the reality is, whether people like it or not, I have the best of Russia and China, American academics. One flew all the way to Edmonton, Alberta to meet me. That was logged 5 years ago, and did an interview with me, just little old me in Edmonton, Alberta. And that is the last 3 presidents expert on China. And then there's more. They're experts on Russia that I've met with, I've Zoomed with, and I've gone through. I've had incredible Russian contacts made, which are very, very hard to get. It's why propaganda news like UK, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia keep pushing on the TV experts that haven't been involved in Russia since 2003. Think about that, folks. 20 years. What do you know about Russia? This is what I'm going to tell you as of 2020, and I know absolute. And what we just watched with this insurrection that didn't last, it's something like a January 6th, a lot bigger, but hear me out. So when a president from Russia or a president of the United States is met with a massive insurrection or a rebellion or a mutiny, so to speak, we have the Kremlin in Moscow, we have the White House in Washington. We also have the Black Sea Compound, military complex, 4 presidents, and we also have one in Virginia for the American president. These are 2 military complexes for 2 presidents of 2 massive nations. One complex is defense. One complex is president on military alert, getting ready to do massive military action. And guess what? Virginia and Black Sea Compound are the same thing for both presidents. So you see Vladimir Putin getting on a plane and going out to the Black Sea military complex, it's because he's ready to fight a massive military battle in Russia. This is the same for the United States. If you see Joe Biden jumping on a plane and going to the complex in Virginia, it's because Washington is under siege and they're getting ready to do massive military action domestically. Now, we haven't seen that, obviously. It never got that far in January 6th, but it could have. I promise you, if gun violence from the insurrectionists had broke out in Washington, you would have seen Joe Biden in the Virginia complex, and you would have seen massive, massive military action in Washington. That would have happened. That would have happened. And that's where a president goes. That's what Vladimir Putin was doing. And the insurrectionists from the Wagner Group changed his tune. Obviously, we don't know all the answers, but Putin was ready to launch military escalation. Now, contrary to what's being told to Canadians, folks in the Commonwealth by BBC News, the UK, Canada, New Zealand, and Australia, the reality is, folks, the Wagner mercenary group was 8,000 strong at its highest level in Russian history just up to 2022. Where is it today? It's larger today in 1 year by massive volume. It is 5.5 times its size since it was in 2022. Contrary to what you're told, there are 28 registered political parties in Russia. Russia's political structure, the party Vladimir Putin belongs to, actual Russia party, is the massive majority, but there are other seats held by other political parties. The Communist Party's in second place. It always has been. Communism is still there, large in Russia. It's the opposition. Is it a major opposition? No. It's exactly like almost what Alberta was just before the last provincial election. The seat counts are that in Russia right now. Vladimir Putin holds equivalent of what was 64 seats in Alberta, 60 seats in Alberta, 63 seats in Alberta, and 24 seats for NDP. That's what sits in Russia today. That's Vladimir Putin's majority. Contrary to what you are told. This is as of 2022. A lot is sequestered, but this is the reality. And many political parties are still functioning in Russia. They don't have any issues. That Merc army, that Wagner group, grew from, again, 8,000 to 50,000 today, almost twice the size of the Blackwater private military mercenary army in USA. The USA uses in all the same regions as the Wagner Group. It's grown and ballooned massive size. When you do that so quickly as Russia did, Russia and USA are quick at mobilizing. You run the risk of opposition usurping you. And in Russia, that opposition made itself known. Is that group more stable or less stable than Vladimir Putin? I would say less stable, more nationalist, more aggressive, more violent than Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Putin is not an idiot. Contrary to what you hear from the UK, he's not weak. He's very wise, very calculated. I think if people are logical and they look at things, you'll see that. Why use such a massive mercenary army group? Why would you build one? Why does USA do it? It's to reduce political fallout. It's to reduce the USA's government, executive, legislative, and we can't even really get into judiciary because judiciary doesn't have a say in these foreign campaigns. It's strictly under executive. There are American justices, but most of the justices on the international courts are out of the UK, even UK prosecutors. And UK itself has a massive mercenary army all over the Commonwealth, 1/3 of the world's population under grip. And they have used mercenary armies way, way longer than the United States of America and Russia together over many, many hundreds of years. UK is the master. I would say second place is France. However, we see clearly UK with the G4S is all over the world. I want to blow some things up here in Canada, myth bust, and you will find this is credible, real, and deadly accurate. G4S and its mercenary base, there's over 800,000 strong. Yes, a mass amount are security guards, 300 and some thousand, but there are over 500,000 globally hired for guns in many, many nations, all of the Commonwealth nations almost, besides one who's seeking independence right now today, and it's a Caribbean country. They resisted, and in fact, they signed the 1989 Convention on Mercenaries, banning mercenaries altogether, staying true to Geneva. And folks, you will be shocked at which countries signed on to the convention, and not so shocked of which ones didn't. Absolutely, under the UK, all of the Commonwealth did not sign, and yes, the P5, a massive majority of nations in the world did not sign. What are the massive majority of countries that didn't sign the Convention on Mercenaries, banning mercenaries? Well, it's all the countries that have subjects and savages defined. And of course, the P5 who don't have subjects and savages defined. They do military escalations all over the world too, Russia and USA and even China. How did Chinese police stations get into Canada? Through G4S. That's right. The private military complex funded by absolutely 100% Justin Trudeau, Prime Minister of Canada, Pierre Poilievre, His Majesty's official opposition, and yes, Jagmeet Singh. All in their votes, all in their actions, all in the history of all three of those political parties. Blocs in there too. They voted that way with the Conservatives. This is what they do. What happens to RCMP attached to that? What happens to Chinese police stations? Chinese security in the Canada-China Sino deal, better known as FIPA. Everyone says, how did this come about? Through G4S. And guess who's registered with G4S? Beijing regime. We're all being lied to by the liberals, the conservatives, the NDP, and yes, Bloc is there too against all of the Quebecois, keeping a silence on this fundamental truth. Mercenary armies hired to make sure China can extract all its resources and operate its firms here. They also use these firms when pushing their rights on First Peoples lands and pushing them off. It's not just the RCMP. You'll find G4S there and all its subsidiary names attached to many countries who extract resources any which way they want to, and good luck for First Peoples getting in the way. We see it all over the world. UK and its Commonwealth are committing massive atrocities globally as they had for the entirety of the world, and nothing said about it. Why? Because Merc armies, Merc security staffing and solutions through London, UK, are not subject to UK, are not planted on the country, and your government in Canada, as it is in Australia, New Zealand, and almost all of the Commonwealth countries, continue to do this. They abuse the subjects. If you don't follow suit, you will be subjugated, and savages will be destroyed. And you will not see any media, you will not see any human rights issues brought forward. Zero. None. It's sad that Russia and USA have embarked on this road. Are they anywhere near the scope and size and scale of brutality as the Commonwealth? No, they're nowhere near. Russia and USA combined don't match the sheer, raw, awesome, evil power of mercenary formation of the UK. Nowhere near it. Nowhere are they over 6 continents. USA and Russia mobilize quickly, but they have problems, and Russia has a problem. They took a Merc group that they weren't large with to begin with and made them massive in scale and size. You will find two federalisms, USA and Russia, have similar programs as republics. That comes from having federalism, true federalism, and people keep saying Russia's not, but again and again Russia proves it is. Russia uses strength. The Wagner Group leader thought he could usurp Vladimir Putin, and he realized right quick he could not. Vladimir Putin has had him exiled to Belarus, very close. It's another country with strong ties to Russia. He's not being reprimanded. He's caught at this time. It doesn't make Vladimir Putin look weak. It's Vladimir Putin dealing with, politically, another organization. And if you think Putin is bad, folks, if you think Putin is bad, you don't want that political party nationalist attached to this Wagner leader. You don't want him with his hands on the button. You don't want him in charge of the Ukraine war. Why did he rebel against Vladimir Putin? It's very simple. The Russian army, the military, that formation of the reserves, the 300,000 they were working towards, and they got assembled. They assemble as fast as the USA, in some respects faster, was able to replace the Merc army. All the human rights violations that UK says they're going to prosecute, they can't. It was done in large part by a Merc army. It doesn't fall in Geneva. These are problems why there shouldn't be Merc armies in the world, but the P5 all use it. And UK, who points the finger in its Commonwealth, runs the largest bar none Merc army globally through its Commonwealth. And again, anyone can look it up, G4S. There's nothing small or minimum about that. They make Russia and USA look like babies. They make Blackwater and Wagner Group look like tiny little seeds in a mass granary, comparatively in size, scope, and organizational strength. It's scary. It's scary. The military complex, as they call it, is nowhere near as large of USA as it is globally through the Commonwealth. Nowhere near the scale and scope. It was something that should have been reduced post-World War II. UN's tried. Lots of nations have come forward, but the Commonwealth will not change. These are all colonizers, elite powers who don't wish to change it. And USA and Russia have been slowly gravitating to it. It's a destabilization of world order and peace. The design of the UNSC, and it's scary. And I don't know how we're going to change that, not unless we make videos like this, we publish, and we get many people looking at it. I encourage everyone to share this video. I encourage everybody to get involved and start researching Merc armies and understanding Geneva and understanding human rights and how countries go around that. I encourage people to look at this video and the validity of what's been shared here, because it's accurate, it's credible and verifiable, and you will notice your domestic atrocities that are never talked about. No lights are shined on it because they don't fall into Geneva Convention. And Canada escapes. Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and of course UK, who runs its crown over all these countries and allows them to continue. The people of Canada are involved in massively funding the private military complex globally, And you're being abused. Your resources are being stolen from you. You're being subjugated by force. A lot of people ask why so many things are the way they are, why companies operate in Canada with little to no regard for any kind of rights of the people, because there are none. And then the First Peoples and the gross atrocities committed by them for the longest running genocide, but yet nobody's stopping it. No one's coming in. It's because Canada is running the largest mercenary private military complex known in the Commonwealth, probably just at home domestically, never mind all our fingers in all kinds of gross human rights violations all over the world. They say it's for stability. These 1,500 multi-million-dollar, trillion-dollar GDP-generating companies who exploit domestic populations, termed as subjects, and even worse, their First Peoples all over the globe, defined as savages, who were brutalized all over the world, picked up, moved, transferred their wealth, their holdings, their property, and exploited by companies from all over the world. You will find China's FIPA deal, signed by the Conservatives, is all through the private military complex, largely G4S. There's your Chinese police stations. There's your security forces and security teams all over Canada operating in our precious metals, our rare earth metal mining, and everything that goes through Vancouver and out on the ships is protected by G4S, private military complex, that there will never be questioned on Geneva. We will never see human rights addressed. They operate the way they want to. They subjugate the subjects. They assassinate and destroy the savages. This is real, credible, verifiable, and nothing is ever said about it. It's too bad we didn't have real journalism in Canada. It'd be nice to see real journalists go through this in massive detail, but we won't. And it's really scary where Russia is today, where USA has grown to in the last 25 years. It's scary. It's scary to see the rise of private militaries not subject to the same rights as Geneva, and it's guns for hire, and people who don't care what happens to them, it's all about the money. Human rights don't matter in those categories, and countries are not held accountable for those military actions by those private groups. And this is where the UK is a complete liar, and this is why I put the 18 plus. It is somewhat of a dangerous video to make and share. You can piss a lot of people off, a lot of wealthy people off, but this is true, credible, real, and verifiable. And if we don't talk about it, we don't bring this up, how do the people even know? How do the First Peoples know worldwide, those deemed savages throughout the Commonwealth? How do they ever get from under that foot? I hope First Peoples chiefs from around Canada take time to look at this video. I hope Canadians take the time to look at this video. There's massive room to grow and achieve and enlighten the masses looking at these topics. It's scary. It's dangerous. It's 18 plus, but somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to turn the propaganda machine around. And I hope the USA and Russia change their ways. I hope they don't continually follow the UK. This is all pre-World War II stuff. This is the stuff of gross human rights violations throughout the world entirely. And I don't want to see the P5 continually grow into merc armies in contravention of Geneva, moving away from the things like the 1989 UN Convention on Mercenaries. And it's sad to see which countries won't follow suit. My country won't follow suit. USA, Russia, they are kind of a world police, but UK, it's all about wealth, power, subjugation, and absolutely destroying the savages globally. And that is their number one trick in the book, the colonial book, is Merc Army, something that shouldn't be, but is. And will they give it up? Will Russia continue to grow and grow in Merc armies? They certainly have in 1 year's period of time, and that is truly scary. What USA is with Blackwater is scary in itself, and I don't know what to say. When you start looking at this stuff, it's truly astonishing. And when you look at World War II and what came of that, the promise of never again, and what countries are doing to circumnavigate all of that, should truly terrify everybody. Thanks, that's my video. Get it shared out. It's important knowledge, secret knowledge that isn't so secret, but no one's ever looked at it. And I guess with the propaganda, it's a good thing I did. I learned a tremendous amount. Again, when you think you've learned much about the evil, the system we're in, you find out it's even bigger and worse. The truth is stranger than the fiction. And I assure you, this is truth. And sadly, the truth is stranger than all the fiction and worse than all the fiction. Like you can't even make it up. It's like fiction will minimize the truth and reality. And it's sad, scary, and hopefully if enough people share this, enough people start researching these things, change can happen, because we need change. And it's terrifying what Justin Trudeau, Pierre Poilievre, and Jagmeet Singh are involved with here. Status quo, like no big deal. It's truly perplexing and terrifying that Canadians would be this in the dark and turn a blind eye to it. It's truly scary when we look at Beijing regime and their implementation in Canada and what the politicians say, but yet what they finance and are in bed with is completely opposite. They are purely lying to us. Every mainstream political party. This was the same for South Africa. And now with the growth rate of Merc armies in USA and Russia, just in the last few years, never mind since South Africa in 1993, are we going to lose USA and Russia as global powers of we the people and a future of peace and security promised never again by World War II? Looks like we're on that road, and that should scare everybody. The Merc Army G4S by UK should be dismantled. They shouldn't have such global reach. We in the Commonwealth countries, especially Canada, should not be financing that. We should not be involved globally, and never mind domestically. I hope this reaches a lot of people. God bless everybody. Have a good day. Bye now.